You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we go again. Trying to make this a little shorter than yesterday. Imagine something is moving in government to secure them. However, we should make it a national plan and make it requirements for any transformer installation. So a ballistic panel box for every transformer. So we have this guy here. I don't have information, so what I'm going to say may not apply to this case, but it's a direction of thought that should be entered into, regardless of whether it applies to that case or not. So initially, let's look at this. Okay, there's nothing about him being radicalized. So let's, and essentially, we're probably going back to something like Telephone, and it is in movies. You know, the thing that predicts the future. We all have read news articles about The Simpsons and everything else predicting the future. That's God, and God does that everywhere, including things that of a scriptural nature. You could actually go somewhere that you consider blasphemous, or I like to say hereticulous, because it gets crazy with heresy and blasphemy, what people think. I was watching the Knights Templar movie the other day, and they were blasphemy, blasphemy. It's kind of what they do today, but they're very much more calculating. They use much more spycraft to effectuate their desires. Again, probably the same amount of witchcraft. You can be the most devoted worshiper of God and be the biggest witch on the planet, and they'll go, "Oh, like humor? No." Again, intentions of the heart, the reality of what is being moved. And again, Jesus and the disciples, when they spoke about magic, it was a little bit different. It was outside of the realm of healing, outside of the realm of gifts working for God. But there is magic within Judaism and within what Jesus was saying. Yeah, I'm just looking here. So let's say this individual had no affiliations, no desire to be a white supremacist or anything like that, and quite possibly they may have developed something. I don't know. Uh, that would be concerning in that that individual would be off of the radar screen. And how does that happen? Well, several things have been identified. And again, he had a lot of premeditation on his cover stories, both on using, and it could be true, but both use of methamphetamines and the items for explosives, chemicals, and things such as that. This is not abnormal for California, if I remember correctly. There's a lot of this type of house being discovered. So again, it's not liberal, conservative, or anything. Actually, majority of those people, I think, were conservative and angry at liberals. And I haven't researched another photo. That power station. I don't even know if let me see if I can get it loaded here. My mouse got like stuck in it. I don't know what it was doing. It wasn't anything. I don't think it was anywhere near that thing. Yeah, it's kind of doing something weird. Maybe lag. I don't know. Could be somebody hacking around. So again, when we look at this, uh, I don't know what the story is on that, but you could use, as they did in combat, they use ballistic panels to protect equipment. And transformers are known to blow up on their own. So maybe we need to start using some sort of box around those. All right, something's acting weird here. I want to take a look. Yeah, it looks like it's okay now. So again, there's concern about children being in the area, but everything in the world is like that. They always say they're protecting the children, but you always find children in dangerous predicaments and situations. So that is what it is. If we go with the law enforcement officers that have motivations, general motivations, then we begin to develop a false world. And that's what happens. Enforcement officers like, we're so important, we're so important. Well, people get a little burnt out with that. You are important if you're important. You're not important if you're not important. However, you should understand, and it should be apparent, if you F off the world is going to F you off. And that's really what's happening. You're driving around effing off the world. And you're working for people with money, and you're working with people that are committing crimes. And that's just how the world's wired. Now, it's sin for a season. So when we go to the idea of karma, a lot of people speak about that. It's kind of sin reaction. Number one, it's judged by God. So not all people that sin are going to be held accountable for their sin. Spiritual blindness, being victims in Ezekiel 34 and Jeremiah, etc. And being those that the religious authority, law enforcement, and religious authority work together to block people from religion. They don't let them enter, and they don't enter in themselves because they're not really religious, or really, I guess they're religious, but they're not spiritual. And they're not real. And they're the ravenous wolves that they speak about. So Jesus said that you all don't enter, and you don't let them enter. And you say that they're sinners. So you constructed a life of a sinner for those people. The threat he poses, some of the cops that visited that crime scene may have been the same thing. A threat to the community being clear, but it's psychological, it's racketeering, it's gaslighting to the millionth power. We're not doing anything. What are you, crazy? They did have dangerous chemicals, and that's something we see not only in California, but it does happen in California. So I'm not sure if that has anything to do with accessibility. So we would most likely need to look into that. Is there some sort of accountability issue that we're looking at? So he had his cover story where he was doing model rocketry. That could have been his first love. I don't know. So that is a concern when we look at TikTok, when we look at my YouTube feed, what they're trying to do. They'll say, if they get caught, they'll probably say, well, we're just trying to test this guy. But in reality, there's a lot of sexuality in it that I'm not bringing up. There's a lot of violence in there. It looks to be like a psychological operation to me. I mean, could be anything, but that's most likely what it is. I developed several possible desires that they have off of that. I wouldn't say motives, but what they're trying to do. Their motive is crime, corruption, and psychosis. So, it's always the same. So this particular fella may be off the radar screen for several reasons. However, he was doing things where he should have been on the radar screen. So where were the police during that time? Are we looking at the wrong thing? Are we playing deep state gang and saying it doesn't exist? Again, that's generally where law enforcement gangs come from. They begin with spycraft and psychological worship and warfare. They worship something other than God, most of the people, including those in the church. As particular bicycle, he was all over the cameras. So again, that's one of our defenses. We do see that the camera paid off here, and the cell pings. And we could also, again, he would beat the plate reader, right? But again, plate reader cameras and all of that. You could actually use a camera as a plate reader and a camera. You probably want one. So was he a model rocketeer first? So when we go to this telephone idea where they're creating a terrorist, whether it be American, what did my computer do? Yes, quit hacking me. Knock it off. That's who knows? They could be in Upper Slobobia in Russia. Stooges. Bubala. Remember Hogan's Heroes, that woman that was Russian? I think she was Russian. Maybe she's supposed to be German. I don't know. That one actress. But let's say they're doing that. Let's say they're trying to create a terrorist, and our own people may be part of it. That's the part you have to understand. They might have found a system that takes care of them and makes them famous and rich and gives them jobs working for Google, Facebook, Twitter, Visa, corporate security all across the world. And of course, the Republicans will say, oh, you mean China? Oh, and then the Democrats go, oh, you mean Russian? So again, that's playing out. That's a psychological operation in itself to say which side is actually doing it. Because it's all of the sides. It's where it is and where it isn't. That's the two things you have to be concerned with. It's over here and it's not over there. Be careful because they will say low, it's over here, and low, it's not over there. Again, it applies to law enforcement. Again, the Bible. Jesus is here, Jesus is not there. The threat is here, the threat is not there. There is reality to it, but that can only be gleaned with the help of God, not some church or some religion or some crony that's in a church claiming to be spiritual in nature. So when they do that, we look, okay, they possibly, and again, Satan does the same thing, and they copy Satan. A roddle. Maybe that means something, but Adderall. It's all Adderall. Stop projecting. Okay, so he projected at me. So he has projection power. But that could come from spies powering him up for crime. It may not be his own power. Or even a cop driving around trying to make him a criminal. Maybe knowing the full story. He knew he was doing meth and making meth. And maybe the cop put him up to it. Who knows? Him and her and CIA and everyone else. Or KGB, FSB, whoever. So, but we know that he's a model rocketeer. So if he was radicalized to do that without a political agenda, again, these we need to think through. How does the system find that person? And how does the system work through that? Okay, we have profiles. Do we put model rocketry into our profile? capability to actually create such explosions and things like that, and would be off the uh, radar screen because a combat engineer, sapper, might be on the radar screen, but somebody such as a model rocketry person may not be. I took some, here's a funny thing. I had some blanks laying around my house from something. I don't know if it was somehow the military got it in there or something I was using somewhere else. I don't know. I had blanks. And I had, those white labels that I guess Avery labels, but they're long and thin. They're like lab labels or something like that. So what I did was I took some of the powder and laid it inside of it. I don't know how I invented this. I rolled it up, kind of like a joint or something. I didn't seal the ends, and then I just lit it on fire and we go. It's like an instant rocket. That kept me busy for like a week, and then I was like, nah. I was in my backyard. A little Chinese firework thing. But again, people that have that capability, maybe you could look those. As far as uh, how could you go about that? Because that gets pretty big. You start looking at everybody, and then you have an intrusion issue because agents and officers are targeting people. When the list grows bigger, then the evil has more of a group of people to victimize. Now the word group came up. So again, let me get back to this. Yeah, it is trying to put inference in that word. I'm going to move this over here. Once they wire you, they continually move. Oh, it doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is what we say exists, because you don't even exist in the world where nothing over here exists or nothing over there exists concretely. You're manipulating everything to tell a lie, all of you. And it's a lot of money. I mean, Google, Facebook, Twitter, a lot of money going into law enforcement to have them be corrupt. And that includes retirees influencing people on the inside, with the people inside knowing I can have a life like that retiree if I do what that retiree tells me. So this guy could have been created by several entities. Several entities. So influence and messaging through things such as TikTok, through YouTube, through the news feed, the ad feed. No, they're definitely in my YouTube. I can get this photo of Jesus anywhere. Let's do this real quick. Oh, I can't even see what it does on my screen. It's not showing me. I put the photo of Jesus into the video clip feed. And it's just to go into the photo feed. I'll have to look to see if it does anything when I'm done here. Now, my list of graphics. Okay, Amy Coney Bryant's over here, and she's pointing to this again, or not again, but pointing to this now. Again, those are our deep state people generally. But again, back in Jesus' time, those were the deep state people back then also. Republicans are not trying to take the deep state out. They have the biggest scam on this one. What they do is they say, we're not it, they're it, when they are actually it. And we're going to save the world from it. Just put us in. And when you put them in, they create a bigger deep state. That's a spycraft trick, to create the other side as a threat or going over, real or imagined. and then you make them go over and make them do something, and then you power up. DeSantis is using that, but DeSantis is so. I mean, Trump actually taught the world a lesson. I mean, some people like that, so they could get in, but I don't see it. Because people say, okay, so he's this way, but yet he can do this for us or do that for us. But what happens is that personality moves in another direction, and then, they start lying, and they start, Nazifying everything. And DeSantis has capability to be a Nazi. He's already a Nazi. The issue is where the Supreme Court is, and a lot of people don't want to take those cases on. But he's not in a lot of the application of what he's doing. When they get to the court, when it was initially put in, well, we're only going to do this, but they're actually doing something different. That's a Nazi. That's a Soviet Union trick. I say Soviet Union because Soviet Union wasn't communist. So that's another scam where these people that want food stamps for people, the SNAP program, and they want housing for people. That's not the Soviet Union. They don't want that. They'll move 17 people like they're doing in that prison down in El Salvador. They'll put 17 people in a one bedroom apartment. That's what they did to people that they didn't like, and that's what you're all doing. At least desired to do. So again, that's Soviet nature. Let's go back to where we were. All right. Thank you, Amy, for showing us this again. Here's questions. Somebody needs to brief the Supreme Court on something. I don't know what the questions are. Marshal Service should touch base with the Supreme Court and find out, is there any security or law enforcement issue that they have questions on that our experts or the FBI experts could enlighten them with. It's what it looks like from this point. So she's getting out somehow. She's projecting herself, I would say, or maybe just all of them together through her. So she's up right now. Amy Coney Bryan or whatever is up right now. There's some questions. I'm kind of reading while I'm doing this. Okay, so this particular case, the individual would beat the plate reader, but wouldn't have beat the camera, the cell tower ping. Now, I don't know what the propagation of the Stingray is. However, that's another device that could be tuned to pick up cell phones in a certain area. You might even be able to put, antenna or sensors at the four corners of a power station or something. I don't know how you would do it. You have to look at each power station so that it would read any cell device that gets close enough to do damage to the facility. And a nice big cup of coffee today, actually two. I was not destined. I guess I was destined, but God was pushing me. But I was resolute that I was going to broadcast this morning. So I broke through with coffee. There's a lot of blocks they put in. Like after I'm done broadcasting here, they might start doing something like knocking on the ceiling. So there's a negative emotion, a trauma associated with broadcasting, medical help, all that kind of thing. Just look at this real quick and think of something else. If there's anything else, actually. There is something else. All right, he's a software developer. Okay, that brings us to mens rea. It brings us to the mind of software developers and what kind of megalomania they're experiencing. You know, Zuckerberg, to a certain degree, has megalomania. And there's others. I'm just pointing to him. He could be the Bible tells us you could be the most charitable person outside, but if you have alternative intention, and that's what we're hearing from the people that were laid off, that they're the bottom of the barrel. They were brought on for some sort of project to uplift people, and in the end, they were screwed. So again, appearances are everything and shouldn't be. So again, there's a lot of questions coming out of Silicon Valley as to what their intentions are. As far as what Elon Musk found about it, FBI and all this, I think it's just the system and the priority that was placed by everyone, even the Republicans, on making sure that Russians and others didn't affect the election. So again, the Republicans like saying it's happening here and not there, but when you look at the data, it's happening everywhere, and in some cases, the Republicans are more guilty than everyone else. So again, if you're an honest Republican, then that's what you are. But that would require you to be honest about what all of this is. Just because you want to keep extra tax money, that's not a legitimate argument for a Republican. You plug into a system and you all make money off of it. Money it would not be generated if the other people didn't exist. Trickle down only exists if you have a well mind within the corporate leadership and things such as that. It doesn't exist. Trickle up is actually more important right now. You all made a lot of money off the trickle up when the down people had extra money. Now you're saying that it caused inflation. I doubt that. It would have caused a little bit of inflation because you saw 1 or 2% inflation. You decided to make it like 5% inflation because you make more money and do less work. Again, who's actually lazy? Well, the person that charges $10 for something that's really only worth $4 because you have a lock on the system and you'll never be investigated for price gouging. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Trying to find this window here. It's in the Bible. Windows. Praise God.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.